Yeah, it's Ganja Girl and I'm not reviewing the tape. Playing this song for those coming a little late. Gonna start with this cool new song. Play it a bit, but promise not too long. Shout out to the viewers who are already here, and anyone who's had my back this past year. We about to go over this week's public comments, where I go through and give tons of compliments. A little critique when I see fit, but I try to stay fair, keep it legit. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Ganja Girl Show. Shout out new people and those I know. If you don't know me, let me fill you in. For like half a year, I've been calling into public works about those planters. Also permits violations, all that matters. I've been there in person at City Hall, but I guess I confused some of y'all. I go by PG when I speak, and I think that's what's throwing off peeps. Also, I protested, boots on the ground. Blue La Poop, Bell, the court, I made it around. Not saying my resume, trying to flex or anything, just introducing myself so you know I know what I'm saying. I'm not a Randall that just popped up out of the blue. Some just didn't see me, John Cena to you. But buckle up, the podcast about to start. Welcoming emoji heart.
What's up? So everyone's been asking me when I'm gonna do another stream reviewing the comments. It kind of takes a lot out of me because critiquing people is hard. And I gotta push through some stuff in order to do that sometimes. But I heard from Miriam specifically, she wants me to be brutally honest. So I guess I'm gonna try, but I am gonna be honest as always with my comments, but I'll try not to sugarcoat anything. And see, there you are, Miriam. I spoke you up. But yeah, we're gonna do. I don't know what meetings. I want to do more than public works. I kind of want to do like the police commission or the ethics was good. Or was it the ethics? No, it was the other public works. But let me pull up. I guess it's easier now that I've been sort of streaming the Zoom calls. I can just pull up my own stream. Um, Public Works from 4 days ago. So this isn't going to be the really long one. This is going to be the one before the really long one, before the double presentation one. Or should I do? I should do them in order. Yeah. So let me do that one first. Would be nice if I had my volume on my tablet. Let me know if you can hear it well. I'm gonna skip past my little intro on there. Trying to remember how long I started before the meeting. I should have. Next time I'm gonna queue it up, and I'm gonna have everything all like nice and. Amy, what's up? Okay, let's see. 15. Okay, so this is gonna be Public Works from April 23rd, 2025. Irish, what's up? And yeah, I forget. There's so many meetings at this point. I'm sure you guys feel the same that call in. Like things kind of get all, like what's the word? Everything just combines together in my mind. I can't tell what's from the last meeting or the meeting before it. I can tell if something was previous, but everything's just intertwining with everything as far as what was what date. So maybe the 23rd is good. Maybe it's not. I don't remember who called in that day, but he said 5 minutes. So let me go to about here. Great. Go over there, watch MD. Okay. So it didn't start at that point. Okay. Was that the day that Matt wanted to call in and he was having trouble. I don't know. And it's really weird hearing myself streaming I can hear myself do the calls, but hearing myself do the stream, it's throwing me off. But like I said, well, 6.5 blunts in already today, so bear with me. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, I didn't want to have that on my stream because that was either Goat Puppet or F-bomb. And I'll just say there is freedom of speech when it comes to the government. They have to let you speak. And even if it's horrible, words, they have to allow it with the government. That doesn't mean that people need to allow it, doesn't mean chat rooms need to allow it. That applies to the government. And I feel that's very important because if they take away their rights, it can be your rights next. So if they take away their right to free speech when it involves, the government, then that takes away my right. So I am going to skip past them because I think I'm just talking over whoever it was. Was there a Zoom issue with audit? Because I don't know. Let me just extra rewind. Okay.
I'm here to tell you what happened to me on Easter Sunday when Scientology, who believes that Jesus is a figment of our imagination, implanted in our brains by aliens, held their Easter event for hundreds of small children. They blocked the fire lane, okay? They're not like where the sheep said, oh, I did kind of zigzag through. No, complete blockage, blocking hundreds of children in from having any fire access. They had a cruelty to animals. They had little bunnies in the sun. And then they did fire restraint and viewpoint restraint for me too, because they closed the sidewalk against the law. We know they're not allowed to do that. And they would not let me through. I had to have the police come to tell them about their own permits. And no, you have to let her through. And I asked them to escort me for my safety. They did, even though they still would not allow me to go to the event. But and then as soon as the police left and I left, they would not let other people that they're discriminating against through. Please do something.
Okay. So audit gave a lot of information right there. But sometimes a lot of information like that can be overwhelming, and it might be hard for the intended audience, which would be like the commissioners, for them to digest it. They might hear one thing and then you're jumping to another thing, and it might be too much. But she has really good points with everything that she's saying. She's talking about prior restraint. Prior restraint, I don't want to get the definition wrong, but it's basically like stopping someone without someone doing something. Like, I'm going to explain it wrong. Let me look up the definition and be right. But kind of like if someone puts a flashlight in your eyes, like what they were doing to Danny that one day, that was prior restraint. Blocking her from the sidewalk like that, like actually blocking it, that was prior restraint, I think. I don't know. I've been super busy and she's been telling me to look up prior restraint. So let me get a legit definition. Prior restraint. Okay. So prior restraint refers to government censorship that restricts speech or expression before it occurs. It's a form of censorship where the government attempts to prevent publication or broadcast of information. which is considered a serious infringement of the First Amendment rights. So I guess being blocked at the Scientology event when it's open to all would be prior restraint because it's before she's even saying anything. I don't know. I need to do, if anyone in here knows anything else like about prior restraint and can explain it better, like it would be good to have like a video. If someone's good at making videos, like just explaining what prior restraint is, but not like explain like examples of it, like visuals. I don't know, or maybe someone I could help someone out and I can find some clips and they could put it together or but there's certain things like prior restraint that I feel have been a thing throughout this past year. And I feel like if there's certain things like that that have been, popping up all the time, we should have videos that sort of, are like super cuts of it. Like these are the instances where it was prior restraint, you know, and these were the instances like of the SWAT calls. These were the instances of the, noise violations. These were the instances of this, that, like break it down because there's so much information that audit was trying to get out and that we are trying to let people know about that it's just too much. So if you make things easier for the audience, your intended audience, they will listen to you better. So instead of doing all the topics she did, she knows she's going to be at the next meeting and the meeting after that and the meeting. So I know it's probably like she's feeling like there should be a rush to, say it and not wait till the next meeting, but sort of break down the topics that she brought up and maybe split them into 2 meetings worth of talking. Because in a minute, that's a lot to get in. But if you spread it to 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 4 minutes, throughout the week or couple weeks, like they will focus better on your topic, I think. But yes, it's like a preemptive strike. Yes, before it happens. So it's kind of exactly what it sounds like. Okay, so let's go to the next comment.
Can you hear me? Yes, go ahead. Thank you. I'm here to request a public hearing on the repeated permit violations by Scientology, including what happened on April 20th on L. Ron Hubbard Way. Armed guards illegally blocked public sidewalks, targeted individuals based on viewpoint, and violated the terms of their street closure permit. Again, this commission has the authority and responsibility to hold a hearing, investigate these violations, and determine whether this organization should continue to receive special events permits. The public deserves transparency, accountability, and protection from that abuse. I'm formally requesting that this matter be placed on the agenda for public comment and review. And with that, I yield back my time.
Okay, so with Mona, she's formally requesting, and I don't know if there's more that needs to be said besides that, but I think it's good to formally request things. I tried to do it in the past where I requested that they would, put something about the planners on the agenda or an update about it. But like formally requesting is a very strong tool that you have as a public commenter. And yeah, like I I don't know what else to say. Like that was a really good solid comment to me. Um yeah, let's see what's next.
And going down the same thing the previous two speakers said, you really need to rescind permits to the cult of Scientology. They are not providing.
You know, I'll pause now because we can go back and we can hear Amy again. It's always nice to hear her voice. So I think that there is something to do, like specifically. I can't say for sure with Los Angeles or with California, but I know in a lot of settings, when you're formally requesting it and you're putting it on the public record, that has more weight to it. Let me do a quick Google search, see if that's a California thing. Formally. I don't know. I can't find anything specific for California. Everything that's popping up for me is just basically saying it's like it makes you sound more professional, more legal. You know, it has the the legal ease vibe with it. So let me rewind a little bit because we got to start Jill over. And TJ got her name wrong, but it's okay.
You really need to rescind permits to the cult of Scientology. They are not providing by them. You need to send someone to do an audit of every event they have if you're going to continue to give them permits. At this point, I would not be granting them any permits. Forget the street vacation and forget really the permits because they don't follow them, and get rid of those armed guards that are violating the laws and everybody else's rights. Bye.
Okay. So we all love Amy. Whoops. She's amazing. Um Saying bye, that's her trademark and everything. If I'm supposed to be more brutally honest, as Miriam said to be, or Muriel, then what I'll say about Amy is I I would like to hear more of those different, what would they be called? Like how she calls it, like the Vatican and comparisons. I want to hear some new ones, and I feel like she's the best one to come up with those. And like I think it sort of spices it up when you put newer things. It's good to have the catchphrase of bye, but I feel like spice it up a little bit and bring us something. What's another parallel that we could, you could introduce? Because you're good at coming up with them, and the more that you put out in the other or whatever, like I I I don't know. Like I can't think you did they're not all parallels though. Cause like you did the Pinocchio nose thing. It's like more like punchlines or something. You know, La Nostra Osa or whatever. I can't even say it. But like all the different things that you think of are gold. They're amazing, dude. But like if there's any way you could bring some new ones in, I think that that could help out. Because maybe if they're hearing the same one, they zone out when they hear it at, a certain point. I don't know. But I think you're amazing with it. And I hope you always continue to say bye. And I hope you always bring up your older ones. But I want to hear some new ones from you because you're good at coming up with that stuff. Okay, who's next?
Behind closed doors of the Blue Building. Yesterday morning, an activist documented an incident on film where an ambulance arrived at the building and provided emergency treatment on site to an elderly Sea Organization member who appeared to be in very weak condition. These kind of situations prove the abuse and neglect within the organization. If this street is closed, the public will no longer be able to witness or document such incidents. We can't hand over a public street to an organization that has a long history of multiple types of crime and abuse. Please react before more lives are lost. Thank you.
Okay, so Miriam, you asked for it. I'm gonna be brutally honest. That was effing amazing, dude. Like, the only thing that I would say would be more of like the technical aspect. I feel like with your accent and the way that you talk, the passion that you have when you talk, it was making your audio sort of cut out like you were, if you could back away from the microphone, that might make your audio on those Zoom calls better because I've noticed it before. But that and then just being brutally honest, like the audience for this would be the commissioners. And so you got to think they probably don't speak your language or listen to your specific accent all the time. And when you have passion, you're speaking kind of faster and you only got a minute. So you got to wrap it all in that minute. But if you could slow down just a tad bit, like it's hard with that minute, but I can understand you because I've heard you talk a lot. But maybe someone, on a commission in LA might not be able to catch every word you're saying, and every word you're saying is super important. But as far as like the content and everything, I don't know what to say. Oh, okay. So maybe it was because of that, but I've heard it before, so maybe there was another time I picked it up. But I don't know. I'd also would say like you're good at your one-liners with the I always mix it up, the baby coffins, baby caskets. But like I like how you had like dark humor in a sense. It wasn't like humor, but it was shock, something like that. I don't know how to explain it, but if you get what I'm talking about with I'm zoning in on the how you describe the planners. If you could do something like that, like I was saying with Amy, find some new thing. The planners are gone, so that isn't really something you can bring up, but I feel like you're good at that stuff too. And as we learned at, the past few meetings, there's been a lot of people saying these meetings are really boring. And I don't know how audit can sit through all these meetings. And I don't know how you guys can sit through all these meetings. And, like these meetings are super boring and everything. And yeah, it's for a really important reason that we sit through them. And yeah, there's a bigger cause, but sometimes it's good, for our benefit too, to have a little something in there, not to laugh at because there's serious stuff, but in the right moments, like when we're talking about planners, but calling them baby caskets, like I don't know how to explain it. I can't articulate it better than that, but sort of breaking up the seriousness, not making light of it, but sort of just, that shock that you did with that just out of nowhere. Um, I want to hear more about that story. Like, I want to know I don't remember seeing them lately on any. Are they back around? But let's go to the next caller. Crates with concrete and a little bit of dirt in them that they littered on the public easement. But I guess there were a lot of things that took a lot of time to deal with the planners. This situation with the permits does not take that much effort at all. You guys can just simply stop them from getting permits. Put them on some type of probation with the permits to where they have to, get it inspected or whatever, which they'll probably do, until they're done, whatever. But they should not be doing what they did last year. And you should stop it before it starts again. It already started a little bit, but it's going to keep happening repeatedly. They're blocking access to the public sidewalk when it says only vehicles are prohibited. They have AstroTurf all on the road, no fire lane. What if that caught on fire? How could the fire truck get in there? There's so many issues. Okay. So I guess I pointed out a lot of things too. So maybe I could learn to simplify it a bit more. I don't know. I really don't want to prop myself up. That seems like a narcissist type of thing to do. But I feel like that was one of my stronger comments. I really do. I was proud of that. I like that I did a recall to the planters, and in a way I sort of, I don't know, I was nice to the commissioners by saying, look, I get why it took so long because the logistics, it's like I understand, and then showing them it's super easy. All they have to do is just deny the permits. But I don't know. I don't like talking about myself with the positive. So let's move on to the next one. So is the general public comment session for today's meeting and move on to multiple agenda items, public comment. The board will also provide an opportunity for members of the public wishing to speak on more than one agenda item during multiple agenda item comment for up to 1 minute per item, up to a total of 3 minutes per meeting. This is the only time to speak on more than one agenda item. And we will start with WS. Okay, I want to point something out right there, though. How many times has Corson read that? Like, how many times has he ran a meeting and had to read those words? It's not like those words are brand new to him. They're right in front of him. He's reading them. And I feel like he's reading it for the first time every single time he's reading it. And so since he's kind of involved in public comments, I'm going to critique him and say he should have that memorized by now. Like if you're saying the same exact thing, I don't know. But I think we got to skip past. Was it F-bomb or Goat Puppet? One of them. See, and that threw me off because the name was Goat Puppet, but it was F-bomb. Commend him. He took care of them. Well, actually, I'm going to go back because, yeah, I remember. Do you remember this? I thought he was going to be so bad. But wait, maybe he was bad in this. Maybe he was good in the other one. So I'm going to just continue to skip him. But pay attention to F-bomb guy and in the future and see if you see growth. Because I'm seeing him stop himself from saying certain words when it's in certain situations. So if it's in public works, he's sort of calming down and censoring himself. Instead of saying really bad words, he was using the word stupid. He had a horrible hoodie on, and that I cannot excuse that at all. But he seems to have respect for audit, where he looks at Public Works as like her meeting more than his. So he's been watching what he says, because she's streaming it, and she, has to listen to all that stuff. Like, I don't know, he's trying to be respectful, I feel. I heard him in other realms, he hasn't calmed down at all. But he has censored himself a lot. Kirby's, what's up? Don't worry, you don't gotta be here. But I'm glad you're here. So I forget if I skipped all the way past him yet, but I give it to him. He's trying. And he mentioned Scientology too. He doesn't really use it in a context that makes sense, but he'll put Scientology in his comment. And that's because of audit and his respect for her. So, and like I said, free speech. I don't want my free speech taken away. I don't want the government telling me what I can't say. But let's go to the next one. This is multiple agenda, by the way, for April 23rd. I was just talking good about you, dude. That's okay. I need to have all this queued up or something.
$24 is, I guess that's like what it costs. But how much I would love to see that 24 million also be allocated for the streets and sidewalk repair. I see further down that you have a sidewalk repair that you're putting 2 million in, and it does feel like I can't tell you how many chairs, like even this rental's already like busting up just trying to navigate one day of the city streets, and they already have to come and they're going to have to exchange it because I had to run it like a Flintstone because it's just already wobbly. My chair, which is, I think the insurance pays like $30,000 for, which is crazy amount, but I've had my fourth repair in 2 years because of the sidewalks and streets. So as much as I love that you're taking care of the sewers, please, we need the streets and sidewalks. And now at number two, I see do not accept the contract, but don't assess penalties or liquidated damages. So if there are any penalties and stuff I don't know why you're not getting that money in. We're in desperate need for every last bit, all of it. And then I know I want to talk to 11. Again, here we go. They're going from 359 up to 613. It's almost double. And we've been talking about that a lot, especially with this budget, which is they're basically defunding the city. There's going to be a lot of jobs lost. And so we really need to be careful and monitor how much we're giving. Because I see the other one, I forget what, I think it's the next one or right after. They're saying that, here we go, number 14, not to do the bid, but not to exceed 4 million. But it seems to me that a lot of these contractors feel that they can say, okay, well, just pay 4 million. That's how you get the lowest bid. They hit, wink, wink. Just don't tell them you need more money because they're not going to say no. And they would be right to say that. I've never heard. I think I've heard one note. The only notebook I ever hear from. That's why. Sorry, he's my favorite. He'll say no. And I'll say it right straight out. I think I've heard Commissioner Mitchell say no once, but I appreciate her too. But you guys got to start saying no. I mean, we're in a budget, and Mr. Corsi, I like respect. Don't worry, you're not. It's no diss on the president, but you got to start saying no. Because if we can't just keep pushing everything as if we're in abundant of finances. We're not. We're what, $1 billion in a hole? Where's that money coming from? Right now, they're raising our sales taxes. You're raising stuff, on us. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that's the end of our in-person multiple agenda public comment. So we'll go to the virtual platform.
Okay. So I'm not going to go through and critique that whole thing, but what I'm going to point out is she speaks on multiple agenda items all the time. So many of us are scared to do it. I feel it's important to speak on the multiple agenda items and show that, it's good when you can tie it to Scientology, but when you can't, it's good to show that there's more to you than just the Scientology thing. And I think it helps sort of how she, gives the commissioners their props for things, for saying no at times, or, saying that she likes President Corson too, like saying small things like that, being nice to them. It builds, like, I don't know, would rapport be the right word? Or it's not like a relationship because you don't really know these people or anything like that, but it sort of lets them know that you're not just one dimensional. And there's a lot of random topics. I'm sure whoever, whoever wants to could find something on an agenda that they have an opinion on. And when you do that, maybe you have more confidence speaking about that topic because you might be more familiar with it or something. I don't know. But it could help you by doing that. It can help you improve your public speaking. It's more practice that you get. And if you look at it like Scientology is a very serious situation, like what we're saying is very serious, like, well, that puts pressure on you. So if you're talking in multiple agenda items about, I don't know, like water or sidewalks or whatever it is, there's not as much pressure because if you mess up your words with that, it's not that serious, So I feel like that's a good way to practice is to do the multiple agenda items and find a topic that you know something about or you feel a certain way about, and that way you can practice. Let's see. I think there's more on the Zoom for multiple agenda. I don't know. Okay, so that's the end of that. So I'm going to do another meeting, but I want to use this as like an advertising time. Okay, so maybe my mods can help me out when I mention someone, put a link up in there. But let me pull something up right now and go subscribe.
Keeping an eye on Scientology. Warning the locals, letting them know not to get involved with Scientology. Further to the trees, it's Kirby's. Keeping an eye on Scientology. Warning the locals, letting them know not to get involved with Scientology.
Yeah, go subscribe to Kirby's mom. She is doing really amazing going out there. And she was asking, her live earlier was, you need to go check it out. She was asking the locals about how they felt about Scientology, about if they would go to an event that was at the Scientology Community Center. And she was doing really good. She was eliciting very, very consistent conversation. She was getting like one person after another. And she let them know, like, I'm not filming you, but I'm recording the audio. And, they were comfortable enough that there's a lot of good content in her live earlier. She got some really good conversations. And yeah, she was peeking through the trees. And there are a lot of cute little doggies. And she's doing good. And she does a lot. She mods for me. She mods for a lot of really good people, and I feel like she deserves a bit more subs than she has right now. Like, where are you people? Like, go sub to her, Kirby's mom. You know, if you're sub to me, you should be sub to her. She's out there, boots on the ground in Dublin, and she's doing amazing. And yeah, I was gonna get to Irish too. Miriam's reading my mind, and I don't know, is it Phoenix or I always just read it. I've never said that out loud. But yeah, like Irish, you're in here. Put her link again. Um, who else? Uh, I don't know. Kirby's, you're good with links. Anyone in here that streams, just anyone in here, we're gonna limit it to that. You see people, or they put posts on their thing like they don't got a stream, but maybe they do shorts or. But shout some people out. Y'all know. And then let's see. There's something else that I wanted to sort of do in the advertisement part. Oh yeah. Is she even in here? I gotta make sure that I really wanted to. Is Joe in here? Yeah, Joe's still in here. Make sure you drop her link. Joe made an amazing song for me, and she's made like so many different songs for everyone, like every topic. She, I don't know how she does it. She's putting out songs like crazy, but Joe is amazing. And yes, Haggis. But yeah, I wanted to give Joe a shout out because she did a song for me, and I don't know that it's crazy how much something like that can make you feel. And I saw it from the other side when, like, I wrote songs for people before, but when someone writes a song about you, that means a lot, dude. So, but yeah, we're gonna go to that was when was the 23rd? Was that I don't know. That was like 4 days ago. And then we're going to the one that was one day ago with the two presentations, which means okay, I started 20 minutes ahead, and then it was like an hour and a half presentation, so that should be like 150. But yeah, like I think it's important for all of us just keep shouting out the smaller people that are doing things that might not have the spotlight on them, but you see that they deserve it. Like Joe, she really deserves it. Kirby, she deserves it. If I'm not mentioning people's names, that does not mean they don't deserve it. But I'm 7 blunts in right now. So Miriam, she just that's what I wanted to point out. Miriam, she was out there. I was watching it. You guys got to check out her stream where the guy came up to have a conversation with her. And first of all, I thought it was crazy because they were speaking a different language that I have no idea what the words were. But from the tone from both of them, I kind of knew, like I felt, like I knew what was going on. And then she finally has enough of it, gets rid of him, and then he comes back and asks if she wants some weed. And I don't know. I think that's important to know that that doesn't just happen there. Like wherever you are, if you're like protesting there, they're gonna try to set you up with stuff like that. But that was so obvious and it wasn't slick. But yeah, that was a really good stream to check out. Um, yeah, like the Scientology likes to send plants to, like they aren't necessarily Scientologists. They might have ties to Scientology, like Scientology helped them out at one point with, a meal or something, and then they owe Scientology or Scientology pays them, whatever. But they do put the plants out there to try to get people in trouble. Yeah, like shills. Maybe shills is better because plants sort of, that word got dirtied in a way. But, okay, so this meeting we're going to do is hopefully queued up to the right point. I'm going to turn the volume down because I know I played music at one point. I'm not trying to jump scare anyone, including myself. So, let me... And that's another reason when I'm doing the Zoom calls, I like to talk as much as I can when it's like, okay, so 10 minutes from now. But, like, I don't like the dead air because you don't know if you just pause the stream by accident or if it's done or whatever. But also it helps me find where, if there's dead air, it's hard to skip through and find stuff. Okay. I hear great grandma, so let me rewind a little bit. Okay. How many people, what was the... Okay, so no in person.
Okay. First up, we have Georgina McPhee. You have 1 minute. Go ahead. Hi, can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. I'm calling because I'm very concerned about the misuse of L. Ron Hubbard Way. That street keeps getting closed continuously. They have loud music all hours. It's just the same song repeated over and over again, which is a well-known torture tactic. So I don't know why they're allowed to just keep blasting the same song over and over again. But my concern is the street being constantly closed down. It's a direct access to 2 major hospitals. That street needs to be opened up for traffic and for the neighborhood. It needs to be open for parking. I have no idea why the street's closed off to parking. You could easily sit 50-meter parking spots there and make easily $1,000 a day, which would greatly benefit the city and would be able to pay for the repairs in the sidewalk that all the planters they had there created. And I would really love to see this street used for all the people. This is a public access. It's not their private road. And they're talking about vacating the street. Thank you. Thank you. Next we have Jill.
Okay, so that was very strong. And I liked how she compared the music, the same song over and over, to torture. But you know, there's times when I've done that too. I brought that up. Amy brought that up. I think all of us have brought that up. So we already know. But like the music, that's a good one. She brought up the parking. But again, we're all of us, I feel, are just full of so much information. And we wanted to spit it all out in a minute, and a minute is not enough to do it. So we just throw out like everything we can, and sometimes it can be a lot. But also, I'm 7 blunts in, so maybe it's just me right now. But let's go to Amy.
They do not follow the law. They break the permit laws. They do not follow it. They don't post their permits. Every time they have an event, you need to send someone over to check to see what they're doing and that they're displaying the permit. That's not right. Everyone else has to display their permits. You cannot be working with a gang unless you're in bed with them. It's disgusting that you continue to work with a child trafficking cult that has proven criminality. And you're wrong to do that. And you're wrong to keep giving them permits. You're allowing them to get away with stuff that we don't. And The next thing, if they were even hurting or unaliving someone in that building, you will let them get away with that too. So as well as the LAPD and the DA, District Attorney Hockman, who is disgusting, going after the protesters that are trying to expose this abuse. Bye.
The big thing with that is that you brought up his name, the DA's name. I think that that's really good to do. And it also pressures him in a way to be accountable, because it's putting it on record. Like, I don't know. I really like that you did that. Okay, who's next?
Next, Gigi's. Gigi, you have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Hey, so I want to start my comment off by saying, Commissioner Grant, I really enjoyed that presentation. I enjoyed what you said, and a lot of the language that you use, I would use to describe you. I really appreciate you. You are really an asset to the Los Angeles City. You are amazing. You have a lot of my respect. And thank you for that really amazing presentation. I'm glad you're in charge right now. This is awesome. I cheered at home when I heard that you were in charge. But what I'm here to really focus on is the special events permits. There needs to be a stop to it. There needs to be no more. They cannot tell people you cannot go on the sidewalk. They cannot target certain people because they do not hold the same religious beliefs as them and tell them they cannot go down their sidewalk. It's only closed for vehicles only, and it's actually closed for fire trucks too. Fire trucks cannot fit down there. There's no fire lane when they do these permits. I wish that you guys would inspect them more and not issue as many permits. Thank you. Okay. And again, it feels weird speaking on myself, but I think that it's important, like I said, to I had to say something about Commissioner Grant, and I have to show him respect. And when you are trying to ask a board or a commission or whatever, if you're trying to ask someone to help you in some way, you don't want to be super hostile to them, because then what is their motivation to listen to you? And if they can't listen to you, how are they ever going to fix what you're approaching them with? So it's good to, you know, be cordial. Maybe that's the word. But you don't want to be completely hostile, and you want to build, something with them where you show them respect. Because if you want respect, you got to show them respect. But let's move on.
Thank you.
Here once again to raise my concern about the repeated event permits granted for Elvin Hubbard Bay and Scientology, naturally. These events claim to be open to the public, yet they systematically block access to sidewalks, public sidewalks, with armed guards and off-duty LAPD officers enforcing selective exclusion. People, including those with disabilities, are being denied access to a public street and sidewalk, and it's a clear violation of their civil rights. This has been going on for years. It's an abuse of the permitting process, and the city of Los Angeles must stop granting these permits that enable a criminal human trafficking organization to turn a public street into a gated compound. Protect the rights of vulnerable people and citizens of LA. This is unacceptable and it must end now. Thank you.
Okay, so she spoke slower there, so maybe she wasn't walking, and that was the difference or something. But That was amazing. She asked me to be like brutally honest with her, and it's like I don't know how to. It just is because when you hear your voice from your ears and, like hearing your vocal cords and stuff make the noise, the location of your ears, it's different. Like, and there's like reverb and all this stuff. So you do not hear what other people hear. Your voice is totally different. So when you hear it, you're sort of, your mind's telling you that's like an imposter. That's not you. So it like throws you off. Everyone has an issue with that. And I heard like famous singers and stuff, they don't like listening to their own stuff because they can hear mistakes and stuff. Or actors don't like watching stuff, and I don't know, but I think it has something to do with we hear our voice different. But yeah, like I I don't know what to say negative if you're talking about, or not negative, but like what I could critique you on if you're saying brutally honest, like I don't know, the same thing as before. If you could find a way to just add, like that one phrase shock that you elicited before, that would be amazing. And then I was thinking it would be good if you had added prior restraint into what you had said. But I didn't even know that was a thing till like just recently. So, but prior restraint seems like a good word to use. Okay, who's next?
Thank you. Guys, you have 1 minute. Go ahead. Thank you. Commissioner Grant, I agree. I really appreciated the sense of community that was presented and your research into the history of Arabs in the community. I wish you would actually do some research into Scientology and look up the criminality and the background of L. Ron Hubbard, who is an unindicted conspirator in Operation Snow White, which was the largest infiltration of the U.S. government by Scientology in order to get their tax exemption. In saying that, again, I'm here about the permits. I do not believe that they should be issued permits for family events, considering they are currently under scrutiny for human trafficking and child abuse. There are several cases in the courts presently. One of them is child brides. They take their abuser and they marry them off to the minor who has been sexually abused by the Scientologist. And that is disgusting to me. I wish you would rename the street and take up those red bricks.
Okay, so first thing that Haggis did that I feel it should be done more. It's like she's reminding them, Google it, look it up. Look up Operation Snow White. There's court cases going on. Look this up. And if you tell them to look something up and they write that down as a note, you don't have to go into so much detail about each topic, and you can put a lot of topics in without it being so overwhelming. But it was really good to remind them, look it up, and here's some key words to look up.
Next, we have Lurker. You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Hello, it's me again. I call not as often as most the people who do call, which I just love, love, love how dedicated these people are. It has been decades, literally decades, that people have been speaking on this same subject of this corrupt corporation that calls itself a religion. You're new to this, I realize. You're young, you're healthy, and you're able to do something about it. I wish you would. Your predecessors did not. All things come to light. And if you haven't noticed, a lot of things have been coming to light lately. So you might want to get out of the shadows and be in the light where you truly belong. You were put here for a reason at the time you were there. Please do your best.
What I like about great grandma is she props the other callers up, and she, especially when there's a presentation, she makes sure to say something good about everyone so that she can do her own presentation. And I like how she speaks deliberately, like the tone, or not the tone, would that be the cadence? The way that she flows her words is very deliberate. And I think that, I don't know, I think that that's a positive. I think that people listen when you're deliberate because it shows confidence behind what you're saying. And when you're more confident, I guess people listen to you more. And yeah, like you can call in from anywhere. With some meetings, most meetings, you know, can do a Zoom. It doesn't matter, but I feel it's good to not necessarily, in my opinion, not spotlight that you're from somewhere else. You know, like I personally don't think that that's a thing, you know, that needs to be done. But people can make their own decision on that. But, you know, even with a different accent, you don't have to just every time you call say, I'm calling in from across the world and I want to tell you how to run your city. Because it's not like that. Like people that are calling in are stakeholders where they the city, this aspect of the city is important to them, and they're taking the time to give their public comment and try to do what they can do to, you know, help fix the situation. So I don't know, I wouldn't put a do what you want. But if you want to know the specifics though, I would ask Miriam because I don't know how to do. I don't know if you need a VPN. I I don't call from I don't know. Yeah, and I have a claim too. You know, I'm not gonna spit out all this personal stuff on here, but yeah, like there's there's a lot of ways to fit in that definition. And yeah, that describes great grandma exactly. Right? You know, like think of how much is going on, and like think of the first time that you heard something about Scientology, and then think of how much has changed. You know, like but okay, who's next?
Next we have Audit LA. Audit LA, you have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Good morning. See, Commissioner Grant, you're the fan favorite. Ms. Hoppenstand, I guess this is kind of directed to you and the board. After what happened to me on Sunday, with them illegally enforcing that permit and depriving me of my rights to travel, prior restraint, viewpoint discrimination, a completely blocked fire lane, possible abuse to animals, children being trapped by a blocked fire lane. I am going to put I'm sending an official, for myself, cease and desist letter, basically demanding that no more permits be given until they investigate and adjudicate all of this. Because the city is being put, you're making the city is liable if something happens, and it's already happened. And I'm not out here I don't want money from the city. I want things changed. And I'm not threatening or anything like that. So, we're going to do this or that. No, but I am putting out that demand. I've had my rights violated, and you got to stop giving these permits. Thank you.
Okay, so I think the way that she worded it didn't make it any more of a legal thing. I think the actual her sending in the email or whatever, doing it in person, that would be the action. So where Mona was talking about things, it would be saying, formally requesting. It would be different how she's saying that she's demanding, because she also said that she was filling out a thing, so I think that would be the action. But she's saying basically that she doesn't want them to write another or approve another permit, and if they do, then there's going to be problems. But she's doing it in like a nice way. But that's a good idea. I'm not even going to put that. But yeah, that's a good idea. And there's like, what was I going to say? So she told him not to do a permit. Oh, so Sue Percool, she is the permit person. Like she always posted permits. But I haven't really seen much lately. Does that mean that there's not another permit? Or does anyone here know anything of a permit, an upcoming permit that they got? Because if Sue's posting and I'm not seeing it, I gotta fix that. Or if there's just none, that's good. But I feel like if we're speaking on permits, we should know, a lot more about when these permits are popping up. But that portal sucks now. You can't find anything on the portal, really. It's very hard to find stuff. But I was wondering if anyone knew of a permit. But let's see who's next.
Last general public comment is Henri Marini. You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Before I proceed, just pause one time really quick. So, I always appreciate Commissioner Grant having the courtesy and professionalism to look at the camera. I want you, Commissioner King, and you, Commissioner Mitchell, to give me your undivided attention. At the very least, that's the respect you could do right now. And look at the camera as we, the public, are talking to you. Look us in the eye as we talk to you and give me your undivided attention. When you do that, then you can begin my time. It's utterly disrespectful and shows resentment for the public. And I still haven't heard back from my dozens of cure and correct filings. I still haven't, and I've already told you I'm going to sue. I'm going to sue for it. This is ridiculous. And again, you can at least give the public the professional courtesy to give them your undivided attention, even if you're not actually listening. Pretend like you are. Turn your face to the damn camera. Lock your eyes in so that we, the public, can see you. That you owe us. It's utterly ridiculous. Respond to my damn cure and correct filings. I've got over a dozen of them by now. You're individually liable.
Okay. So with Henry and that comment, I was looking at the time, like on my live stream, it tells me how many time and it has the seconds counting and everything. And they literally just gave him a minute. He asked them or told them to pause his time. They didn't pause it. Now, one could argue there might not have been a legitimate reason where they would in that specific situation, but I wonder how many times when they definitely should pause it, they haven't. And also, if there's 10 minutes and say there's 10 callers, and no one speaking in person, okay, so there's 10 callers, but say that 3 of those people didn't use all their time. And somehow after 10 people calling, there's half a minute left. They're supposed to let the 11th person speak and just tell them they only get half a minute. And if they don't want to do that, they can drop out and whoever's behind them, they can do half a minute if they want. But they're supposed to do that full time. And it would be good if someone could, stopwatch it or go back to the streams and just look at the timestamp and note the times, and help out with that data to see in all the meetings what they're doing as far as pausing. I don't think City Hall pauses when they're supposed to. Yeah, she spoke about it. And also, no one ever really talks about it, and I don't even know if it's still there, but there's a turtle that's right by the cafe when you step down the stairs. And I always wonder as it gets warmer and hotter outside and unbearable. Like, I know there's water, but water can, get really hot, so I don't know. I don't know anything about turtles, but I wish someone knew, and could just calm my feelings about that, like, and just tell me, they're fine, they're okay in the heat, whatever. But they they have a turtle there, and if you go to, I know a lot of people don't like her, but if you go to Katie Kidman, she walked through there, and I don't know why she chose to just walk down those stairs towards the cafe. Like, I don't understand, but she did, and there's a turtle right there. And I just wish more people would talk about that while we're talking about animals. These are all good questions. Like, maybe, maybe if everyone, wanted to just focus on that the next time, but it's not like a coordinated thing. We're all individuals. We all decide what we want to say, but that would be good. It seems like there's a lot to talk about on that. Well, because they've safe pointed a lot and they've gotten away with stuff. And it's like with parenting, okay? If you tell your kid no, and then they keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and then they break you, and you change your mind and you say, okay, fine, then, that becomes what they expect. They expect that, you know, you can't tell them no because it doesn't really mean no. Like, no never means no, and then if you let them get away with stuff all the time, they're gonna just get away with stuff. Like, I, I put a lot of fault on a lot of the other entities involved. Scientology is bad, but what about all these other entities that were supposed to be protecting people? Why didn't they do what they were supposed to do? and stop things before they even got this far. Why is it 2025 and we still have to protest this? Like, I don't understand that at all. Was that the last one of this, or is there another caller? Oh yeah, so I remember this, and I feel like other people got aggravated at this. It wasn't just me, but I believe Hank was on the line to call in, and he had his hand raised. And there was still time. There's only like 8 people that spoke, so there's room for like 2 more. And if they followed the rules, really, you could get a third person with partial time. But I think Hank was on there, and Let's Go was on there, and someone else was on there. But there were people waiting, and they didn't get to do their public comment, and they just closed it. And I know for a fact, if TJ was there, he would have said, we got these people. Do you want me to ask if they want to do a public comment? And then since Grant was in charge at that point, Grant definitely would have. Grant would have let us go over time if that lady would have, you know, I don't know. I complain a lot when TJ's not there. And it seems like there's a lot of technical difficulties. The way things are done are different. When TJ's running it, he puts your hand up and then, you don't got to worry about anything. But the way she does it is just backwards. I'm not going to go into all the details, but she's the one that forgets to mute people. And then she screwed me over with not being able to talk that one time. And I appreciate TJ. He irritates me sometimes, but I do appreciate him. I guess we're going to go through the multiple agenda items. I think there's audit, and there's a few people that do multiple.
They're not.
Virtual?
Yes, we have 3, and then I do have one additional hand raised, and I'll check if she'd like to make a multiple agenda item comment. Arla, would you like to make a multiple agenda item comment today?
Yes, please.
You have 3 minutes, or which items are you wishing to speak on?
Can I speak after the others about multiple agenda items?
General public comment has been closed.
Okay, so yes, so you have other people about to talk about multiple agenda items, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I would prefer to speak after them, please.
Okay.
All right. And that's another example why I appreciate TJ. Like I appreciate TJ because that's not the TJ thing that would have happened necessarily. Like, there were people that were already signed up for multiple agenda items. Why would she, as the last person, go ahead of all of them? It doesn't make sense. Like, and she's just asking if she can speak after them, and then she's like, well, general public's already closed. And it's like, she's not even listening to what Carla is saying. And she doesn't understand, like, that if someone signs up first, they should be first. If someone's last, they should be last. Like, the last person shouldn't be first. But I appreciate TJ. TJ has faults, but TJ's good.
First up, we have Audit LA. Audit LA, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, about the Bearer Street service updates for street updates. I've been asking for a year now about updates about L. Ron Hubbard Way and what is going on with it, whether about the street vacation, about these permits, everything. Here. I think every other week even. And there's just no, like, there's no resolution. Like, I don't feel heard at all. They keep getting these permits to close the street down, which gives them a de facto street vacation. And they are applying for, I don't know if it's been put in yet, but they're applying for an actual street vacation, which would keep, everything that happened to me, you could see they had like armed guards preventing access. That's what they want, and that's what they keep getting. And I'm like asking you sincerely and saying that it's got to stop. Like, I know the budget's going down, and that you probably don't have all the resources to do inspections. But with something where you have a dozen people coming every single meeting, maybe 8 people, whatever, every single meeting for a year, that's 3 meetings a week for a year. Doesn't that warrant looking into it further? Doesn't that warrant an investigation? Doesn't that warrant taking it seriously? I mean, to the point where people are saying, we want to sue the city. We want to, you have to address it. And that is the agenda item to address it on. I know he just wants to get on and say, we're laying tar here and there, whatever. But no, it's just, improvements or whatever, dealing with the streets. As far as contracts,
Okay, since she says a lot, I'm going to just stop there before I forget that point. Okay, so she did something that's, you got to get lucky because they don't do this all the time. But sometimes in the agenda, they put something that is so general and is not specific at all. And she jumped on that. And when they do that, you can just assume in your head what your interpretation of that is. Like, if it's sanitation, it could be any sanitation. If it's streets, it could be any streets. If it's sidewalks, it could be any sidewalk. So that's a good tip if you're doing multiple agenda items and want to bring it to something that you want to talk about. Find the ones where they're very like non-specific.
Here. So if the city of Angelina, if that site is asking contractors to attest that they're not using slave labor when they sign into an account there, that means that LA is acknowledging there are issues, and there are right in our own city. We've been telling you for a year at L. Ron Hubbard Way, they legally are not allowed to pay somebody $47 a week to work on a public street. Once they touch that street, like they vacuum the street, whatever it is they're doing, sandblasting it.
That's your time for today.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
And see, like the city attorney and all, or not the city, whoever that lady is that has to respond, they say thank you all the time because they're sort of forced to. But it's nice how Audit ended it, and she was pleasant, and a lot of people do that when they call, I've noticed. And I think it's good to be as polite as you can. Is your beef really with them, or do you want their help? It might be frustrating, but you gotta, if you want people to work with you and help what you're bringing to them, you got to give them some type of reason to want to. And if you're so hostile, why would they want to, that's probably why F-Bomb and Goat Puppet have had to go there for so long, because when you're hostile and you're using all that language, they're definitely not listening. So it's like, I feel, running theme of this, be cordial, be polite. Your problem's not with them. You might have frustrations, but, don't you, aren't we going to them to ask them to solve something, to fix something? We're asking something of them. So I try to be as respectful as I can with them. Was there any more? Or no, that was it. Or no, there was.
Next up, we have Regina, but I do not see her on anymore. Georgina, if you're on, please raise your hand. And in the meantime, we'll move on back to Henri Marini. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
I just want to echo some of the points that I mentioned. It is a fact that the streets stresses BSS providing us an update. Has the audacity to despite the fact that both of these projects have actually utilized slave labor directly by Scientology. See, it's not even an issue really of Scientology at this point, right? It's always really been an issue of government corruption. And really, the symptom of Scientology is just one that's allowed by the corrupt hands that you do. And the fact of the matter is that both the Metro and Valley resurfacing regions have used, to several capacities, slave labor by a cult, a criminal racketeering ring that hides behind a religious veil. And that ultimately is what the jury trial sees, that ultimately is what the judges look at, and that ultimately will be what you get questioned on as to why have you continued doing work and business and providing contracts to the same vendors, as well as continuing to appoint individuals like Keith, who has been specially invited to private meetings as well as public ones, where you get special donations to attend and you grease palms with criminal rackets, not just Scientology, but many of the other corrupt real estate developers in your area that are well known for fraud cases, RICO-esque cases. And this ultimately is at the crux of all this, right? This ultimately is what you're feeding into for not having it as an agenda item, at the very least for a consideration. This goes to your agenda item number 1. Some of those same contractors that you're pre-approving are literally also using slave labor from Scientology. It doesn't matter what you show on your budget sheet. The fact of the matter is they're using slave labor to do the work. I saw it myself. I documented it, and I had law enforcement on my side for it. You are aiding and abetting the use of slave labor today, not just of adults, but of children. Very well documented. And that is the crux of the issue. You are aiding and abetting via your continued business with many of these contractors on item 1, as well as the non-disciplinary action not given to Keith Mose, the continued use of slave labor, something that should have been abolished and legally is, yet you're aiding and abetting it. That is the issue at hand here. That is the real crux of the problem. And those individuals also happen to be children. And that's what makes it really bad. That's ultimately what will happen. At the end of all this, right, as we have DOJ task force that investigate the Inside Safe program, they're even investigating Commissioner Grant right now for being a sponsor of an unregistered political lobbyist. That is ultimately what happens.
Okay. So he said a lot. And after the full 3 minutes of it, I did not retain a lot of it because there was just a lot there. Again, I'm very stoned right now, so obviously, like, I'm not gonna be able to remember the full thing. But, like, I felt like there's a lot of information. He's really good at getting numbers and specifics and all that stuff. And I wish that he would just focus on, like, one thing and elaborate on it a little bit. But I guess when you're doing multiple agenda items, you got to go to 3 different things, but it just seemed like a lot. As I was listening though, he was making good points and he always knows his facts. He has a lot of facts with what he speaks. But let's go. I think Carla's next.
Next we have Carla. Carla, would you like to offer multiple agenda item comment? And which items would you like to speak on?
Yes, thank you for letting me wait. I would particularly like to talk about the item number 2, please.
You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. There are several problems that I've seen, but particularly regarding the street improvement. One has to do with the Catalina Street. In the building of the Church of Scientology, there has been a change. There have been several companies and people that work within there that Henry has mentioned slave labor. They have been taking out the smokestack, and that was dangerous for the people who are walking around and passing by with the car. And then I have witnessed the Emerald Harbor Way has been closed. The others have been mentioned. It has been closed days before the permit that they had. And on Monday, a woman was taken out, a very elderly lady was taken out in an ambulance. And that would have been terrible if the street road would have been closed that day. We know because we have the testimony of the people who were putting the bricks on the streets that those bricks were put there by children. Thank you.
Okay. And what's really amazing about this is she figured out what she was going to say in minutes. She wasn't prepared for that, to have to do multiple agenda items. And we had to get the link for her. She had to look at the agenda, and she, immediately, basically. I mean, she had a while because there are people speaking for 3 minutes, but like, she only got a minute, I think, right? But if she would have said all, okay, I'll explain that for the people that don't understand and might not have paid attention to the timing because they don't call in or whatever. But with the multiple agenda items, you get 1 minute per item for up to 3 minutes. So if you say one item number, that's 1 minute. 2 item numbers, 2 minutes. 3 items, 3 minutes. 4 items, 3 minutes. 5 items, 3 minutes. All items, 3 minutes. So, it stops at 3. But if you say all or you mention at least 3, you can get your full time with that. And yeah, was she the last one? I think she was. Let me just make sure.
Agenda item comments today and all.
Okay. So the last thing I really want to point out before I wrap it up is we might be getting too familiar with what we're saying and not give specifics that would help someone that's brand new understand what we're talking about. The commissioners know what we're saying because they've heard it all the time. But think of how many random new people are sitting there listening at each meeting. Think of how many ears are hearing it for the very first time. And if we just talk about a street or the street, like they don't know what we're talking about. If you say, L. Ron Hubbard Way between Sunset and Fountain, that gives them an idea. If you, mention anything, sort of add little details if you can to help the audience, the people that are sitting there. Maybe they're sitting there and they have some important job and they're waiting to do a presentation. And maybe for some reason they never heard about what we're talking about. Like, don't get too lax, because it's become like a habit, it's becoming like a chore, or it's just the same repetition over and over, meeting after meeting. Like we got to learn that not everyone knows what we're talking about. And one big thing about public speaking is you speak to the person like they have no idea what you're talking about. And you explain it. That's why there's so many of those, for dummies books, like, because you explain it as if they know nothing, and you reach the biggest audience. If you explain it without giving the specifics, there's only a very narrow group of people, or a very small group of people, that have any idea what you're even talking about. So that's something I'm personally going to improve upon. I'm going to try to get more specific with what I say, try not to be too lax, try not to just feel like, it's just the same over and over thing. Like, I'm gonna look at each time as a brand new thing, starting fresh. And yeah, like, that was the past 2 meetings. I think that, let me look that up, because sometimes they change it after I say something. Or I mean, right before I say something. So let me see what the meetings are looking like. Tomorrow would be the 28th, and it looks like it's canceled. Let me just download to make sure. Yes, so Monday is canceled. No public works tomorrow. And then the 30th, which would be Wednesday, there's a meeting Wednesday at the normal time. And let's see, is there anything on the agenda that looks easy? There's a lot of agenda items, so if you wanted to try multiple agenda items, there's 13 of them. The agenda's posted. You can go through and find something. Like, I think it would be funny. Item number 2 is assessment hearing number 2, Cartwright Avenue and Landale Street. And it's something about street lighting maintenance. And I just think it's funny because Nancy Cartwright, The Simpsons, Scientology. And if you didn't know, okay, not only did Nancy Cartwright like do Simpsons, she's been on like 20 other different shows doing voices, including Rugrats. She was Chucky Finster. And I don't know, if you're anywhere around my age, she totally messed up my childhood. And like, I can't look back at any of my childhood things because she had a piece in like a lot of things back then. And she's still doing stuff. But I think it would be funny if someone brought up item number 2, the Cartwright Avenue, and brought up Nancy Cartwright. But I couldn't figure out a way to do that, so I probably won't. But there's a lot of them. They're very specific, so it might be hard. But if you ever wanted to try multiple agenda items, like I said, it's good practice. There's not as much pressure as when you're talking, about something as serious as Scientology. I mean, sometimes these things are as serious, like when it could have prevented the wildfires from being what they were. But let's go. What's up? So yeah, like, did we get Let's Go's link in here? I want to point out again how awesome her weekly updates are. I like how she's putting a spotlight on the smaller people that are involved in doing things. I I really like that, like, there's bigger channels and they talk about the other bigger channels, but there's a lot of people that deserve, a spotlight on them so you can see what they're doing and, get eyes on it and see that there is a lot more being done than just what's shown on the bigger ones. This is a bigger movement than just like a few handful of people. And Carla tries to get as much as she can in the updates, and her editing is amazing. I wish that she would submit that one. It was a few weeks back, and she said it's going to be late, it's taking extra time to do, and it was like a different style that she was trying, and it was more documentary style. I think that she should submit that to like a film festival, like Sundance, for like the short films or short documentary or something. But like I really I really appreciate how she stepped up and how she's trying to raise people up. And I want to do what I can to raise her up. So if for some reason you're sub to me, but you're not sub to Let's Go, go sub to her. And, like, give her flowers for, all she's doing. She's basically doing like a full-time job, like think of all the work that she's doing, and think of how few people can do what she's doing. Like it's amazing that she's decided to do these, and I hope she never feels pressure that she has to keep doing it, but I hope that she does continue, because it's really amazing what she's doing, and it really helps. Yeah, and I feel like she she sums up each week so perfectly, and somehow she has clips of stuff that's like really close to when she puts it out. Like it's like last minute she's still putting stuff in, and it flows amazing. Like, so I hope that, someday soon she gets memberships. I don't know if she has them yet, but we need to get her subs up. We need to get her views up. When you see her updates, go ahead, make sure you like them, make sure you share them, get more eyes on them. Her stuff's really good. It's like the type of stuff you could send for like a publicity video. Like it's like I don't know, but I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable by, just spotlighting her too much right now. But Carla, you're effing amazing. And yes, we we can help and send her timestamps and clips, but at the same time, everyone should have the expectation that there's a chance that their clip might not get used. So don't put that pressure on her to where she feels like bad, like, and she has to put everything in there. Like, let's let her continue to do her thing, and we can help her out. We can send the clips in, but she might not use all of them. There might be too many. But, you know, whatever we can do to make it easier on her, but let's not make it harder and put like pressure on her and make her feel like she has to use everything we send her. But okay, next topic. Okay. I was getting close to ending. I was sort of running out of stuff to say, but okay. I got a next topic for you.
Peeking through the trees, it's Kirby's. Keeping an eye on Scientology. Warning the locals, letting them know not to get involved with Sciento. Peeking through the trees, it's Kirby's. Keeping an eye on Scientology. Warning the locals, letting them know not to get involved with Sciento.
So also, make sure we got to get Kirby's numbers up. She's out there at the Dublin location, and she's really good. She was having conversations, and she knows how to sort of get the people to actually talk to her. She's not putting them on camera, so I think that that's helping, and she's just telling them, she's letting them know, audio is being recorded. But like go back and watch it. She got a lot of good conversations, and it's amazing. Like, I can't even point out to one specific conversation. There were multiple conversations that just were, whether it were people that only went there because, like a grandkid or a niece or something had a competition there, or people that actually, one guy, he kind of sounded like he was okay with it. I don't know, but you gotta go listen to that and, get her numbers up. And yeah, what else? Amy does some good posts, and I don't think she streams yet, but she does some shorts and some posts, and she's awesome. And Ozzy, and I'm gonna just shout out every single person in here. We got Ozzy in here. We got Carla. We got Muriel. We got Kathy. What's up, Kathy? Irish. What's up? Am I missing anyone? I'm about to end this soon, so if you are dorky like me and like hearing your name called off, go ahead and speak in here if I haven't said your name yet. No, but I appreciate you guys stopping by. Monday is canceled for Public Works. Wednesday, the agenda is up. There's so many choices. There's 13 items, so maybe you can try to do the multiple agenda items and, like, support the smaller, streamers, activists, protesters, anyone that's doing something to, move things in the right way. Anyone, where there's progress, help them out. Help the people that, people that create songs and, like have their chat open all night long, 24/7 for people to stop in and talk, like that's doing something. That's doing a lot. Like, just help lift everyone up, because this is a long journey we're going on. But my phone is like at 2% right now, so I better end this, or it's gonna be like Kirby's stream where it's sort of still live after my phone dies. So I'll talk to y'all later. Probably see y'all in the chats. Thank y'all for coming. Replay crew. Don't know how you got this far. All right.